Hi there everybody, this is David, and as you might be aware by now, from all my Let's Plays and everything else, I'm a huge fan of the Trails series, and I first played this game way back whenever Sky came out in 2010, and before that even the Gagharf trilogy. I was so looking forward to it that I stood outside the GameStop at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was first in line to grab it whenever it came out. And now, 15 years later, Trails Beyond the Horizon is the latest entry in this long-running series, and it's kind of, sort of, maybe the beginning of a new arc? But if anything, it actually reminds me a bit more of like Trails into Reverie than anything else. But I am going to be going into all that shortly, and I definitely do think this deep dive is worth the sub as you come and you join a party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your hype. It helps me out a ton. And now, let me tell you all about this game in the best way that I possibly can, completely spoiler-free. So let's go ahead and start with the very basics. There are 5 different difficulty levels to choose from, beginning with very easy and going all the way up to nightmare. And the voice acting is available in both English and Japanese. And there's also like a timeline of events and summaries of the previous games that you can peruse at your leisure to get yourself caught up if you forgot what happened in the previous games, or if you decided to jump in here as your first Trails game, for whatever reason. Not only that, but there is a demo available which allows you to play the entire prologue, and that save data will carry over into the full game, so you can try it out for yourself for free. As you may be aware, the story here follows 3 different viewpoints, hence the Reverie comparison that I made before, insofar as it follows Van, Reen, and Kevin's story. Or at least that's what they want you to think it does with the demo and the trailer footage. Let me explain what I mean. Well, the prologue kind of like throws you into this battle simulator and makes you think like, oh yeah, we're finally going to get to see some other places. Maybe we'll get to see Orid State, or Remiferia, or the Free Cities, or Jirai. But no, you don't. It's just a bait and switch because immediately afterwards, you're thrown straight on back into Calvard, and you're still following Van's story as his little crew wanders all over Edith forever and a day, and then Reen and Kevin's crew just kind of fall off the face of the earth, never to be seen again. Well, I guess you'll see them again in about 40-something hours. Yeah, it's just a little bit bullshitty, but they do come into play later, it just takes forever. So this here is definitely still Van's story overall. I mean, it's rather egregious, because there are 3 main acts, but the entirety of Act 1 only follows Van, and it only takes place in the capital city of Edith. You don't get to go to any other outlying areas. You are stuck there for a good 40-something hours, until Act 2 comes around, and then you can finally take over either Reen or Kevin's viewpoint, or again, just follow Van's story. Oh, and during those first 40 hours? Yeah, not really a whole hell of a lot happens. It's pretty much kind of like, hey, remember this person? Yeah, we're friends with them. Let's sit down, eat some parfait, and talk about how good the food is. It's really a wonder that these people aren't like £1,000,000, because that's literally all they do is sit around and eat and talk about how great the fake food is. Sorry, but that's just boring. The main draw of the story is that Zemuria has entered the space age, and they're like launching rockets and satellites up into orbit, but that's kind of odd, because like just 10 years ago in Trails in the Sky in Liberto, they barely even had cars, but now they have rocket ships and satellites? Okay, whatever. But that suspension of disbelief aside, what bothers me more is that you don't actually get to like experience that story yourself, at least not until way later in the game. Because it's not like you're involved in like heading out into outer space or anything. Instead, you just kind of like live vicariously through Hermes, who serendipitously went from a DoorDash driver to an astronaut over the course of like a month. And then you get to see news reports about her exploits. I mean, she even goes as far as to say that her motorcycle delivery service helped her train to be an astronaut, and everybody goes along with this like it's second nature, like, give me a freaking break. My eyes are rolling out of my head. Okay, let me take my eyes and put them back forward, back into my sockets, because at this point, I've been invested in the Trails series for like 15 frickin' years now, so I have to see it all the way through. After all, President Kondo himself did say that with this entry, the entire Zemurian saga is now 90% complete. I really can't wait to see how it ends, so my minor bitching aside, I really am invested. Okay, so anyway, once Act 2 rolls around and then up until the end of the game, you can finally follow Reen and Kevin's storylines. They come into play, and you're able to leave Edith and explore the rest of Calvard. Though it's still never as open as something like Trails of Cold Steel 2, you know, where you get to fly in your airship all over Erebonia and go wherever it is that you wanted to. But at this point, I guess I'll take what I can get. So what I'm really trying to say here is that, like, the pacing, it's just very off. I don't know, it's like the first 2/3 of the game is just drudgery. Wandering around the town, doing these little side quests, running into people that you've seen in all the previous games, talking about the food, talking about how good the food tastes, sitting around and talking about the sweets and the candies and the ice cream. It's literally all you do for 40 hours. Oh my god. It's only in about, I guess, the last third of the game where things actually pick up and real stuff starts to happen. Like, I'm glad that that's there. I just kind of wish they didn't have to suffer through like 70 hours just to get to the good stuff. People are gonna drop off. You know what I mean? Like, that's not good game design. I'm sorry, it's just not. Let's go into the combat. That actually does remain much the same with the mix of action and turn-based, which you can switch between whenever you would like. But as usual, they've added more bells and whistles to both the action and the turn-based combat, because in every single entry, they always have to add something, even if it's not needed and it's just kind of just because we felt like adding something. They always add and they never take anything away. So now it's just super bloated and I can't even keep track of all the various systems that they throw at you. They even took the action combat and they made it overcomplicated for like no reason whatsoever. I feel like they need to take Coco Chanel's advice. She said, before you leave the house, look in the mirror and take one thing off. So she and I get it, because you know, sometimes less is more. And speaking of added system, the Zypher orb mints have been upgraded again. But as we all know, this is just an excuse to reset you back to zero. But thankfully though, the orb mints themselves really haven't changed that much at all, so at least they did leave something alone. But what they didn't leave alone was the Marching Garden. It is now known as the Grim Garden because Ouroboros has taken it over. At the end of the day though, it's essentially the exact same thing. You go in, you grind, you get special treasures, and then you're rewarded at the end in like a gacha type format. Unfortunately though, the Grim Garden is pretty much mandatory. At least it is at the beginning of the game. Later on, it does become optional though. However, I didn't find myself like dreading the Grim Garden or anything, because you get absolutely tons of rewards for doing it. It only takes maybe 10 or so minutes on fast forward to get on through each Grim Garden thing, and you get so many rewards, it is like ridiculous. It kind of makes buying items and equipment and stuff completely meaningless, because everything that you get is just free. Now again, I don't want to spoil anything here, and I think that I've done a pretty good job of that so far, but I just cannot let this pass by. There is this new member of Ouroboros, and she is just the worst. I hate her. And yeah, I know, you're supposed to hate the people of Ouroboros, but most of the time it's kind of like a love-hate relationship, you know? You don't just hate them, you kind of love them. But I hate this stupid little streamer girl with her tits flying all over the place. She is just the worst. I want to throttle the life out of her. Not necessarily because she's evil, but just because she's so damned annoying. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is a review. That's what this video is for. It is to review the game and lend some criticism to it. That's what I'm doing. I'm criticizing it. I hate this girl. I hate her localization. I hate her characterization. I hate the way that she speaks. I hate her face. I hate everything about her. But all that aside though, I did have a good time with the game, because it actually did move the story along. It did tie up some loose ends, and I can definitely see where the series is going as it does reach its conclusion. I just kind of wish that the first 2/3 or so of the game was cut out. Just give me the last third of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, get to the good points. I don't need to see Reen talk to the same people that he's talked to a billion freaking times and then sit down and have a meal with them. It's just too much. Now, I gotta know, what is your feedback on this? How do you feel about this game? How do you feel about the localization? How do you feel about that annoying ass girl? And how do you feel about them sitting around, talking and eating food 24 hours a day, rather than, you know, actually talking about the events in the game? Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it real with y'all here, so let me know in the comments. That's it for me, and have a good day.